This lesson is going to be a brief introduction to exponent multiplication and exponent division. But first, let's just quickly review what an exponent is. So, for instance, if we encountered a multiplication exercise that looked like this, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, we could write all that out, but a long time ago mathematicians decided that it might be easier to write what's called an exponent in the top right corner of a number to signal how many times you're multiplying a particular number. So in this case we're multiplying 3 5 times, so instead of writing that out with the 5 threes, it just became easier to write 3 and then a number to the top right of it signifying how many times you want to multiply that number. So that's what an exponent is. It's just a shorthand. Now, let's say we had three to the third times 3 to the fourth times 3 to the third, and I want to see how exactly that computes. What happens exactly? Well, remember that 3 to the fourth is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Then I'm going to bring down the multiplication dot, and then 3 to the third is 3 times 3 times 3. So what that shows us is we're actually multiplying 3 now 7 times. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 4, times 3 times 3 is 5, and 6 times 3 is 7. So 3 to the fourth times 3 to the third simplifies to 3 to the seventh. So notice what we did with the exponents. Is we actually added the exponents to get the correct simplification. It seems maybe a little bit off because we're using multiplication, so it almost seems like it should be 4 times 3 perhaps. But when you break down the pattern of what 3 to the fourth times 3 to the third really is, you see that there are only 3 sevens. Seven threes being multiplied. So it becomes 3 to the 7th. Okay? So, just another example, could do 4 to the 6th times 4 to the 8th, and I could write down what that means with the 6 fours right here and the 8 fours right here, but now we know from the pattern that what we're really doing is 6 plus 8, so this becomes 4 to the 14th. Okay? So that's exponent multiplication. Let's look now at division. So let's say we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and we divide it by 3 times 3 times 3. Well, what is 3 divided by 3? It becomes 1, and anything times 1 is itself. So what we can do is if we have a 3 in the numerator and we have another 3 in the denominator, we can in effect reduce that to 1 over 1. And if we find another 3 and another 3, we can reduce that. Another 3 and another 3, and we can reduce that. So all we're left with is this over here. So these, in effect, become 1, and what we're left with is 3 to the 2nd power. Now, notice what I had originally if I were to write this as exponents. I had 3 to the 5th divided by 3 to the 3rd. So notice our answer was 3 to the 2nd. Well, how do I get 2 from 5 and 3? Well, what I'm essentially doing is subtracting the exponents when I divide in this fashion. So, instead of writing everything out, in the future we can subtract the exponents. Let's look at another example. So what is 5 to the 7th divided by 5 to the 2nd? Well, it ends up being 5 to the 5th when we subtract the exponents right here. Okay. So that is exponent multiplication and division. And that concludes this short lesson.